They say presence is love. That just showing up counts for something. I used to believe that. I really did. I believed it when I first married Emma 5 years ago, standing there in a beige courthouse with hands that wouldn't stop shaking. I believed it when Derek, her son, gave me the kind of handshake reserved for strangers, brief, reluctant, polite for show. I believed it through those early months when he locked himself in his room and Emma would say, "He just needs time." I gave him time. I gave him everything. My name is Alex. I'm 49. I own a chain of car washes outside San Diego. Not glamorous, but it's honest. Long days, sore knees, hands that never quite lose the smell of soap and concrete. I built it from the ground up, paid in sweat, earned in silence. And every dime that came from it went into this family, into our home, into his future. Derek is 20 now, a sophomore in college, studying something forgettable. Business or marketing. I stopped asking after he started replying with one-word answers and glancing back at his phone mid-sentence. He lives off campus, has a car I co-signed for, eats food paid for by a card linked to my account. Everything about his life has my name hidden behind it like scaffolding. But I never expected thanks, never asked for a parade, just a seat at the table. That's it. Emma used to say I was doing too much. He has a father, she'd remind me. And yes, technically, he does. A man named Greg who sends sporadic texts and birthday cards signed without love. He exists like a ghost in Derek's life. Always distant, never gone. And yet, somehow, he's always the father. Always the one Derek defends when no one's accusing. Always the one who gets a pass. And me? I'm the man who taught him how to rotate his tires. The man who fixed his laptop at 2 a.m. before a final. The man who never once missed a tuition deadline. But I'm also the man who eats dinner while he scrolls. The man who gets silence in return for sacrifice. I used to tell myself it was enough. That love didn't need acknowledgement to exist. That time would change things. But time, it turns out, just deepens the cracks. It was Emma's idea, the family barbecue. Her parents' place. A nice backyard tucked between hills and citrus trees. Warm afternoon sun. Folding chairs on brown grass. That kind of suburban gathering where the smiles are a little too wide and everyone avoids politics. I brought marinated chicken and a cooler of drinks. Spent 2 hours over the grill. Listened to her father complain about taxes and gas prices. Laughed in the right places. I was playing the part. Still believing the script could lead somewhere better. I noticed Emma was quieter than usual. She kept looking toward the driveway. Kept checking her phone. Then, right before Derek arrived, she leaned in and said it. "Just give him some space," she whispered. "He's been a little distant lately." That word again. Distant. As if I was the one orbiting too close. As if my presence was a pressure point. I nodded. Of course I nodded. What else could I do? When Derek showed up, he didn't greet me. Hugged his mom. Shook hands with his grandfather. Said hi to the dog. I got a glance. A flicker of eye contact. Like someone making sure a stranger wasn't staring too long. I tried not to take it personally. I always try. The afternoon dragged on. Plastic plates. Condensation on cups. Lawn games played without joy. I kept flipping chicken. Offering beers. Laughing at stories I'd already heard. Waiting for something to shift. For that moment when the walls would drop and he'd just see me. It never came. Later, as the sun dipped and the shadows got long, Emma's mother suggested a group photo. One of those everyone together pictures, destined for a frame or a Facebook post. People started gathering, siblings, cousins, kids. Emma waved me over, and I walked toward them. Natural. Automatic. Because I thought I belonged. I was halfway into the frame when Derek turned. Loud enough for the whole yard to hear. Not shouting, just announcing. "You don't have to pretend like you're part of the family." That's how he said it. Calm. Precise. Cold. The words didn't echo. They didn't need to. They landed like bricks in wet soil. Heavy, silent, undeniable. Everything stopped. Plastic forks hung mid-air. Conversations stalled mid-sentence. Emma went still. Her father looked at the ground. Her mother adjusted her necklace and pretended not to hear. And I just stood there, holding a cup in one hand. One foot inside the group, the other still on the patio stones. My smile froze. My chest turned to concrete. I could feel the sweat under my shirt and the heat in my ears, but I couldn't move. I should have said something. I should have laughed it off, barked back, made it awkward for him too. But I didn't. I stepped back, didn't speak, didn't look at anyone, just turned and walked toward the grill. I heard the camera click, heard the fake cheer, heard them all fall into place like a picture-perfect lie. They took the photo, the whole family. I stood 20 feet away, flipping over a piece of chicken I no longer planned to eat. Later, Emma came to me, quiet, careful, like I was a wild animal in a trap. "He didn't mean it like that," she said. I didn't reply. She touched my arm. "He's just been off. He's figuring things out." Still, I said nothing, because what was there to say? That it didn't matter what he meant? That what he said was enough? That I'd carried this family on my back for 5 years and been told, in front of everyone, that I didn't belong? That my place was temporary, conditional, a space to be tolerated, not filled. That night, I didn't raise my voice. I didn't slam doors or guilt-trip anyone. I said goodbye to Emma, got in my car, and drove home alone. The road was empty. The sky was bruised. I didn't play music, didn't open the windows, just let the silence do its work. At a red light, I glanced down at the dashboard. The date glowed in orange digits. His next lease payment was due that day. The car was in my name. Last year, when he got that out-of-state internship, he needed reliable transportation. His credit wasn't strong enough. Emma was nervous. Greg, his real dad, never answered the phone. So I did what I always do. I showed up, co-signed, paid the deposit, set up the auto-pay, took on the risk, handled the paperwork, because that's what family does. Or so I thought. I didn't sleep that night. Not really. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying his words again and again. The way a wound reopens every time you breathe. You don't have to pretend like you're part of the family. He said it so casually, so cleanly, like he was naming a simple truth, not carving me out of a life I helped build. I stared at the ceiling until sunrise, waiting for something inside me to crack open. Anger, maybe, or grief, or a need to confront him, to demand some kind of explanation. But nothing came, just a dull clarity, a heaviness that felt like a decision forming quietly in the dark. By morning, the autopay notification popped up on my phone. Your payment of $432.76 has been processed. For the car he drove, for the independence he bragged about, for the freedom he believed he earned alone. I stared at that message for a long time before swiping it away. 2 days later, I opened the finance app again. I didn't hesitate. I canceled the autopay, removed my card from the file, deleted the reminder I used to set every month, the one that kept him on the road while he kept me in the shadows. I didn't announce it, didn't send a message, didn't write a speech about responsibility or respect or family. I made a silent decision. I adjusted to the truth he had spoken out loud. 3 days passed. Then came the email from the leasing company. Payment declined. Please update billing information. I ignored it. Then another. Then a text message, a little more urgent. I ignored that too. Let the system do what it was built to do. Hours later, Derek sent the first message. Hey, did something happen with the car payment? It didn't go through. No greeting. No courtesy. A tone that assumed the world still revolved around the routines I'd built for him. I read it, locked the phone, put it face down on my desk. He didn't need a father. He had said so himself. He just needed the benefits. The next message came an hour later. They're saying it's overdue. Can you fix it? Not please. Not sorry. Not even can we talk. Just fix it. Like always. I didn't reply. That evening, Emma approached me while I was at the stove, stirring a pot of chili. Her voice was soft, like she wasn't sure which version of me she was about to find. Did you forget the payment for his car? I shook my head. No. She waited for me to explain. I didn't. You mean you didn't pay it? She asked, setting her phone on the counter as if the weight of the question required both hands free. I didn't, I said. Her breath caught. He needs that car for school. I cut her off. Calm. Steady. He said, I'm not part of the family. That's a family car. Let his family handle it. She blinked. Once. Twice. Something like regret flickered across her face but died quickly. She didn't argue. She didn't defend me either. She just turned, walked out of the kitchen, and closed the door behind her. The silence afterward felt like truth settling into place. A week passed before Derek showed up in person. He didn't knock, just walked in like the house automatically belonged to him. Sat at the kitchen table, arms crossed, shoulders stiff. What's going on with the car? He asked. Not angry, not panicked, just irritated like I had forgotten to take out the trash. I sat across from him, studying the boy I'd tried to raise. His jaw was tense, his eyes restless. He wasn't used to things falling apart. Not when I'd spent years keeping them together. The payment didn't go through, he continued. They're adding late fees. Can you just take care of it? He said just like it was a slight inconvenience, like I owed him a small favor. I leaned back in my chair. You told me I wasn't part of your family, I said quietly. I decided to believe you. He blinked, taken aback by the simplicity of it. So what? This is punishment. No, it's alignment. He stared at me, searching for some hint of guilt or softness, something he could use. But I was tired, bone tired, years of trying tired. He scoffed, stood up, grabbed his keys, and muttered, "This is stupid," before walking out. But stupid or not, reality was coming for him. And I wasn't stepping between them anymore. The next few days were quiet. No messages, no updates, no apologies. Just distance, his preferred language. I didn't chase him, didn't check in. I went to work, came home, cooked dinner for myself, and let the silence thicken into something solid. On Friday afternoon, I found an envelope in the mailbox. No stamp, no return address, just my name written in handwriting I recognized from years of Christmas tags and rush thank you notes. Inside was a letter from Derek, the first handwritten thing he'd given me in 5 years. I unfolded it at the kitchen counter, expecting excuses, defensiveness, maybe even more distance. But the writing was uneven, hesitant, not polished or rehearsed. Real. He wrote that he messed up, that he wanted to look independent in front of his friends and ended up pushing away the only person who ever showed up for him. He wrote about embarrassment, about ego, about wanting to be seen as a grown man, not a kid who still relied on the man his mother married. There were no excuses, just honesty. At the bottom of the letter, he'd taped a printout of a receipt, his own bank transfer, covering the missed payment. A small amount, but his. I didn't appreciate it, he wrote. I do now. The paper trembled slightly in my hands. Not because I was angry, not because I was proud, because for the first time in years he wasn't taking. He was reaching. That night, I sat alone at the table long after the lights dimmed, reading the letter again and again, each line pulling something loose inside me. I didn't reply immediately. I didn't rush to fix anything. But the silent decision I had made began to shift into something else. Not forgiveness. Not yet. Something quieter. Recognition. The next morning, the house felt different. Not lighter. Not healed. Just possible. And after so many years of being invisible, possible felt like the first step out of the wreckage. Emma said it would pass. He's going through something, she told me one night, folding towels with mechanical precision. It's a phase. He'll grow out of it. I didn't answer. She looked up, waiting for some signal that I believed her. I didn't give it, because I'd heard those words before. I'd lived in their shadow for years. He's tired, he's stressed, he's figuring it out. There was always a reason why I should understand him. A new excuse for why he couldn't understand me. I used to nod along, used to give space, used to carry the weight so no one else had to feel it. I kept hoping if I gave enough, one day they'd offer something back. But that night, with her voice soft and her excuses thinner than the fabric in her hands, I felt something inside me shift for good. Not break, just settle, like dust over old furniture. I had been trying to buy a seat at a table that had already been set. Plates marked by bloodlines and memories I would never be part of. It wasn't personal, they'd say, but it always felt personal. I thought about all the moments that had vanished without thanks. Fixing Derek's radiator in the rain, quietly covering his first overdraft without telling Emma. Skipping a long-awaited fishing trip because he forgot to register for classes on time and needed someone to walk him through it. He didn't ask. He just expected. Because that's what I'd taught him. That my time, my money, my presence, it would always be there. Silent, reliable, free. And that's how it always starts. Doesn't it? You offer a little, then a little more. Then one day you wake up and realize every part of your life has been quietly signed over in someone else's name. I didn't want revenge. I wasn't angry anymore. I just wanted him to understand. Understand that things don't just happen. That cars don't run on belief. That rent doesn't pay itself. That someone always bleeds behind the curtain of comfort. And for the first time in a long while, I decided I wouldn't be that someone anymore. Not unless he learned how to name the cost. A week after the letter, I got a second envelope, this time with a receipt from his job. Fast food. Minimum wage. Long hours. Inside was a sticky note. Week 1. Still standing. There was no apology. No attempt to rehash the past. Just evidence of effort, of motion, of sweat. It wasn't much, but it was more than I ever thought I'd see. That weekend, he sent a photo. His name tag clipped to a red polo, the logo of the burger chain half-tucked behind a lanyard. He looked tired, but not defeated. Then came the class schedule. Screenshot. Circles around key dates. Then a shift calendar. More screenshots. A small message under it, trying to keep it balanced. I didn't know what to feel. I'd spent so long hardening myself that the sudden signs of life from him felt like foreign language. Like a knock at a door I'd already bricked up. I didn't respond, but I turned the autopay back on. Quietly, without a word. I covered the next lease payment. Then the next. But this time I set a reminder, not for the money. For me. For the truth. I wasn't a doormat anymore. I wasn't going to play the invisible man financing someone else's growth while being told I was never part of it. So I made myself a promise. If he ever forgot again, if he ever slipped back into thinking the money came from nowhere, or that I could be dismissed when it was convenient, I'd forget how to press that pay button. Respect isn't inherited. It's not automatic. It's earned. And it's mutual. The payments resumed. But the silence didn't. Every week or two, a new message came. Nothing elaborate. Just updates. Working doubles this week. Midterm stress. Staying afloat. Even a photo once, him and a coworker on break, sitting on crates, eating off paper wrappers. I didn't gush. Didn't reply with lectures or long advice. Just a simple, keep going. And maybe that was enough. Emma noticed the change. The quiet rhythm between us. She didn't say much, but I saw it in her eyes. The way she lingered at the doorway when I read his messages. The way she bit her tongue when she wanted to ask if I was still angry. I wasn't anything. I had spent years trying to be something to them, a father, a provider, a fixture. Now I was just present. No expectations. No illusions. It wasn't closure. It was clarity. And sometimes, clarity is colder than closure ever could be. One night, Emma finally spoke. He's been asking about coming by for dinner. Just us. No pressure. I shrugged. That's up to him. She nodded, not looking at me. He said he's trying. That word. Trying. It landed differently now. Once upon a time, it would have been enough to make me soften. To lean in. To forget everything just because someone said the right thing. But I'd learned. Trying is just a word until it's backed with choices. Repeated ones. And now, for the first time, Derek was doing that. He was choosing to show up. Not as a child needing to be carried, but as someone beginning to walk. I didn't need an apology parade. I didn't want a dramatic confession. I just wanted him to understand that love costs, that presence is currency, that nothing is owed forever. And maybe, just maybe, he was starting to get that. The next week he came by. No announcement. No ceremony. He knocked. That alone was new. I opened the door. He stood there with a bag of takeout in one hand, unsure of what to do with the other. I brought dinner, he said. We sat at the table, ate in silence. Halfway through, he looked up and said, "Thanks for everything. I didn't get it before. I think I do now." I nodded. And for once, that was enough. We never called it forgiveness. There was no speech, no dramatic moment in the rain, no arms around each other while the music swelled. It was quieter than that, more real. He came for dinner a few more times, always with something in his hands, takeout, a six-pack, a loaf of bread. Small things, symbolic maybe, like he wanted to prove that he could bring something to the table now, even if it wasn't much. We didn't talk about the photo, or the car, or the years that stacked up like unread letters. We talked about school, work, the broken soda machine at his job, the way his manager chewed gum too loudly. He made eye contact now. Not all the time, but enough. He didn't call me dad. Never has. I stopped waiting for that word a long time ago. But one night, after dinner, he stood by the sink while I rinsed the plates and said, "I told a guy at work you were my stepdad, that you taught me how to budget." Then he added, he said he wished he had someone like that. That was it. Not a moment that fixes everything, but one that stays with you, quietly, like a nail tapped into wood. Emma asked me later how I felt. I said, tired, and I was, still am, because I'd spent years hauling a weight I couldn't name, trying to earn something that should have been offered freely, holding a position that was never fully mine, but never fully empty either. I kept the autopay on, but I added a second condition, unspoken but absolute. If he ever erased me again, if he ever treated me like a shadow in my own life, I'd vanish. Not out of anger, not for punishment, just to match the space he left behind. You learn things in silence. You learn who sees you only when they need something. You learn how love given without limits becomes expectation. How generosity without boundaries turns to servitude. I thought I was building a future. I was really just laying bricks in a house where no one offered me a room. But people change. Slowly. And sometimes the smallest shift is the one that matters. Derek started sending updates without being asked. Schedules, pay stubs, even pictures of the meals he cooked when he finally moved into an apartment with a friend. Nothing fancy, rice, overcooked chicken, microwaved vegetables. "Trying not to burn the place down," he texted once. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because for the first time it felt like something real was there. Not love, maybe, but respect. Earned, not demanded. He hasn't missed a payment since. Not because I threatened, because he doesn't want to. One night he showed up after a long shift, looking like a man twice his age. He didn't talk much, just sat with me on the porch, drinking water like it was the best thing he'd tasted all week. Then he said, "I didn't know how good I had it, back then." I nodded. We didn't say more. He left 20 minutes later, and that silence, that wordless moment, meant more than any apology ever could. Emma still avoids the hard conversations. She wants harmony, not honesty. She asks if I'm okay more than she used to, as if waiting for me to crack. But I'm not breaking. I'm just done pretending. There are parts of me they'll never understand. That's the cost of being the second man in a story that already had its hero, even if that hero only showed up on holidays. But now, finally, they see the structure underneath it all. The scaffolding. The man who showed up. And that's enough. Not redemption, but recognition. Sometimes that's the best you can get. Sometimes that's everything. Now I sit with this truth. I wasn't wrong to stop. I wasn't cruel to pull back. I was honest. I set a boundary, and that boundary became a mirror. It showed them what life looked like without me. It showed me what I had become in their story. Not a father, not a stranger, but a man who was always there, until he wasn't. and the absence spoke louder than all the years of sacrifice. So I ask you, not as a plea but as a reckoning. If someone told you, in front of your wife, your in-laws, your entire borrowed family, that you didn't belong, would you keep paying their bills? If your presence was treated like an inconvenience, would you keep showing up? If your love was invisible until it disappeared, what would you do? Would you endure it? Or would you finally stop? Tell me, was I wrong?